Hi, my name is Christina. I work for the Hypernatural team here, and I'm excited to be here with you all today. So excited that I forgot to unmute. Um, yeah, let's get started. Today's webinar is a beginner's webinar. We will go through just some high-level tips and tricks for how to create AI video as it pertains to Hypernatural, but also just general tips about AI video generation, AI image and video generation. If you're looking for something a little deeper, let's say you've already been creating a ton of video and you feel pretty confident, then I suggest coming to our webinar next week. We'll probably spend a little bit more time in Hypernatural Editor, doing a little bit more iterating there. I'm going to try to leave about 10 minutes at the end of today's webinar to go through questions. So our Q&A is open, our chat is open. Please do feel free to send things in there. I might not get to it as I'm going through the webinar, but I will do my best to get to them at the end. So we'll do a little Q&A at the end. Okay, so we're going to get started with some general tips and tricks. So before starting an AI video, we suggest you prepare. Do as much preparation as possible. What does preparation look like? So before generating, think about your story. Think about the visual style that you're hoping to create, and think about your references. So that includes your characters, your products, just general things that you want included in your video. This is going to help create the most consistent story. Sometimes consistency isn't exactly what folks are looking for, and they're kind of just getting a bunch of different clips of things that relate to their script. That's part of the preparation as well, acknowledging that that's not the kind of style you're looking for. So thinking about all of these things in advance will help you create a better video. I will also say though, if you've never done AI video creation, Hypernatural makes it really easy to just start from an idea. So that is always an option. If you wanted to start from an idea, a good example for doing that is like you kind of just want to see what's possible. You have like a high level understanding of what the story should be. You can start from that in Hypernatural and kind of just see what comes out. But of course, starting from something more specific will give you a little bit more control. So make sure you prepare. Start with your ingredients. So, ingredients. What are your ingredients? Your ingredients are your style, your character, your product, your subject. Try to think about all of these things in advance. So, references that will help your visual consistency, and we'll go through creating a style in Hypernatural. They'll help with stronger scene generation, and it's going to just overall make a better story. We'll go through creating a product. We'll go through creating a character. For today's webinar, we will create an ad. So I will go through creating a character, a product, and a style, all in Hypernatural. You should think about this a little bit like casting. So you want to cast your characters and get an understanding of the product that you're entering in your video, a little bit of the art direction before you actually start filming. All right, write a clear script. Again, you can always start from an idea. You can start from something really simple and something will come out. The idea of starting with a script is just that it will give you much better control. So you start with a script. If that script has scene descriptions, even better. AI video works best with really short scenes. So think 3 to 5 second moments. You can always like extend those videos or extend those moments within Hypernatural, but that is the best place to start. You think about them as like these are going to be 3 to 5 second scenes and 3 to 5 second moments. The Hypernatural in particular will both leverage the scene descriptions you enter and the script to try to give you the best possible outcome. Again, think in scenes. So try to think of it more in visual moments, right? Like think about it as a storyboard. You're thinking about your visuals. So don't just say something like a person explains productivity. Um, And even something as simple as like a guy at a bank, right? If you try to add more detail, that will help the output. So, a tired entrepreneur surrounded by sticky notes and coffee cups, typing late at night, right? Try to describe what the viewer is going to see. And right along with this, write better prompts. The prompting helps. Um, you could write something like a dog running, but obviously, a dog running opens it up for a lot of interpretation in terms of what a dog running means. Um, And you're opening up to the biases of the model. So if it's a dog running, it's going to pick what is the most generic type of dog, running in a place that's most generic where a dog could be running. So you're giving up a lot of control and keeping your prompts very simple. And this doesn't apply to the initial generation because Hypernatural helps a lot with the prompting, actually. When you put in your scene descriptions, even if you put in just an idea, Hypernatural will give you a scene first, which includes scene descriptions that will be more detailed. But this is something you should keep in mind if you have a very particular idea of what this dog running should look like, right? So, an example, a golden retriever running through tall grass at sunset, cinematic slow motion, warm golden light, trying to describe just generally like the subject, the action, the setting, and the style, right? Cinematic, slow motion, warm golden light. Um, Generally, the way these tools will work and the way Hypernatural works is you're going to start with, you can start with an image and then go from image to video, or you can go text to video. Hypernatural is fully image to video. So we create the images first. It creates all these still images. Think of that as your storyboard. And then you can animate that. And the write better prompts applies to the animation as well. You can give up control. And if you want something done really fast, you use our full motion clip and we will animate everything all at once. But if you're looking for something really specific, there are places for you to edit your animation prompts so that you can be more specific about what it is that you want the animation to look like in Hypernatural. So just things to consider about. Like I will go through these when we get into the tool, but just wanting to keep these things in mind is like the more specific you get, the more information you give the model, the more likely the output will look like what you want it to look like. All right, so the Hypernatural workflow. You gather your references, you do your casting, your style, you write your script, and then you generate the storyboard. And the storyboard will be these like still images that get generated after you've gone through your script and casting. You then refine those scenes. So you have the opportunity to refine those scenes and get that storyboard looking more like the video, the final video that you want to animate. And then the last step is you animate to make a final video. All right, so we've gone through a few tips. Let's jump into Hypernatural. All right, so this is our Hypernatural dashboard. When you first sign in, this is the first thing you see. Just to orient folks a little bit, we have our idea section here. If you don't know how to get started, you can also get started here. So we have like marketing ideas or some seasonal ideas, which we'll update as, we have new holidays, etc. Cultural, spooky. So we have a bunch of ideas to choose from. These are all templates that you can use to get started. We have our inspiration rail, which we'll try to keep updated here with new ads or new concepts, new stories, more generally that folks can kind of review. And if you want to remix them, you can do that here. We have a bunch of styles readily available for anyone to use. So if you want to review the styles we have available here, here they are. And then you can also create your own style. Same with characters. We have a ton of stock characters you can use. If you don't have like an exact idea of what you want a character to look like, or maybe you like one of the characters here, you are welcome to use those as well. So that's like our dashboard. Our videos page is where all of your prior videos get saved, all of your characters get saved, your products get saved, everything will get saved here. So once you've created a video, if you're like, where did this video go? It went to my videos. So come down to my videos and you will find your prior videos here. Our explore section is a lot like our homepage where it includes like the ideas, the styles, it gives you some of the popular characters. It also includes our library videos, so some of our stock scenes that you can also use in videos, and then videos from the community. So just videos that get posted from other folks here. Now, we also have now let's go back and create. So before we get started, again, we want to start with our assets. We want to start with our ingredients to the video. We can do this in a couple of ways. I can start with an idea here, say a video about a dog running. something very, very basic. We're not going to create a custom style. We'll just use photographic. And here we can start to select our ingredients. So it'll create the script. Again, it just created a script from that one line, dog running, and it's casted Barnaby as the dog. Barnaby is a stock character, so this is a dog that's already available in the platform. If this isn't something that is this the way you wanted the dog to look, then you would create a new character here. Same for voice. You can create a new voice, you can create a custom voice, or you can select one of our standard voices. And then style, you can also create a style here. I would, you can totally go this route and create everything here. If it's like very quick and easy, or if you already have styles in your platform, in your account, if you already have characters in your account, then obviously it makes it really easy to just come here and just select what it is that you're looking for. But for today's webinar, we're going to start over here. So we're going to start my videos and we're going to go through and create each of these. For style, I'm going to create a style. Let's see. So I'm looking for a video style that's like light and airy. Um, I'm going to create a video ad about sneakers, and I want there to be two characters in that video. And I want the video style to just be cinematic, bright, daylight, hyper realistic. So here is the prompt. You can create a style from images. So if you have images that you'd like to upload, you can upload up to 6 images for reference and do this here. I personally prefer to create styles from prompts. This, to me, gives me a little bit more control over what aspects of those images I'd like to use in my style. Um, the reason I say this is if you upload images that have a ton of like, if it's very consistently, I don't know, images of donuts, for instance, something random, right? It's more likely that donuts will show up in your video, even if you don't want donuts to be all up in your video. So like something just to keep in mind when you're creating from images is it might pull from those images and assume that you're uploading pictures of like a bunch of people on their phone because you want phones in your style. So for me personally, I prefer creating from a prompt. So we have a bright sunlight cinematic ad style. It's airy, it's luminous. The visuals are hyper realistic. It's skin tones and rich textures, subtle movements, and like I don't want this to be overly saturated. Uh, and then I kind of give a little bit of like a mood. So like premium lifestyle brand campaign. It's light, fresh, vibrant, cinematic. So this is me kind of just adding like I'm thinking about the style in terms of HD, hyperrealism. I don't want it in black and white. I don't want it in sepia. I want this to be like realistic colors. And then I also just added a little bit of like mood just to get a sense of what I was looking for. So I'm going to call this daylight ads. And let's generate the style. Okay. So it'll give example images. Great. So these are the example images it's generated for daylight ads. And we're going to create the style. If I didn't like this, then I can make some changes here. Um, let's say, for instance, I'm like, oh, maybe the mood is throwing it off. I don't know. I can regenerate without the mood. I don't think the mood actually was doing much, but um, here is a place where I can add something like bright, black and white. Let's see, I may have to change other things, but just to kind of show how you can iterate a little bit here as well. Oh, yeah, I'm like, I probably added a little too much detail over here to just add black and white, creating glowing skin tones. Yes, I mean, it does like will change the color a little bit, but hang on, let me see. I'll do hyper realistic, and this is just to showcase kind of how you can black and white vintage style. Oh my goodness. All right, generate. Let's see. Right, so here, now you've gotten black and white vintage style. So I mean, you can use almost no words at all, and it'll get a good a good representation of what you're looking for. Um, but of course, if you want something very, very specific, the more words, the better. I want to just, oh no. Okay. I'm going to go back to daylight ads and generate the style and save it. All right, let's create the style. I'm also going to add a few characters. So as you can see, I've kind of already tried making this ad. I have two characters for my ad. One who I am calling Jamie, who's actually this woman here. Um, and I'm going to create Jamie also from a prompt. Similar to style, you can create characters from images. And this is best if your character is someone known, right? Like if you're using it, if you're creating a history story, historical story, etc. And you want to, like we have some historical characters like Frederick Douglass. If you wanted to use Frederick Douglass in a clip, you could create Frederick Douglass as a character using images of Frederick Douglass. That's obviously a lot easier than trying to create a prompt for Frederick Douglass, um, because then you kind of get a little bit closer to what it is that you're looking for. Or if you want to add it yourself, right? If you wanted to add yourself to this video, then yes, for sure, add images of yourself. I think if you're looking for a vibe of a person and not necessarily have an exact photo of what that looks like, which is very true, I would say, for like creating ads, then it makes more sense to create from prompts here as well. So that those are just two different examples of how you could do this, but you could create from images and just upload images, and it creates as person, or you can create a prompt, create from prompt. So here it's like relaxed, stylish woman, curly, dirty blonde hair, soft freckles, oversized lint and button shirts. Like, so kind of just I've described pieces of this that I think are important to keep consistent. The more I describe, the more consistent certain things will be. So for instance, let's say I don't describe what I want her hairstyle to look like. I think in this, I kind of just, yeah, sure. Yeah, her hair is probably gonna just be down. But I've had examples of like, I want a slick back bun. Um, if I don't say that directly in there, then like her hairstyle might change throughout. So something to just keep in mind is like the more detail you add here, the better. I'm actually going to remove clean white sneakers, mostly because I don't want that to be as consistent. It's a sneaker ad. I'm going to upload a sneaker. So I think I'll just keep that part inconsistent. Um, Delicate gold jewelry. Again, this is one place where I just added delicate gold jewelry. But if I had a very specific idea for what that delicate gold jewelry needs to look like, then like it needs to be more specific, right? I can say like a dainty necklace with a small jewel, um, to just kind of be even that much more specific. That's the one thing about creating from images is that if you have an image of someone, it's going to create image using all of the aspects of what it is they're wearing, etc. So it feels like maybe you have a little less control over their outfit, although you can also change that later. But it'll get the details of that a little bit better. Again, for this specific example, I prefer prompt because I don't have an exact person that I need this to look like, and I'm kind of just going for a vibe of a person. I'm gonna name her Jamie, and we're gonna generate there. Okay, so now it's generating. The first thing you'll see is it's selected a voice. So in Hypernatural, your characters can talk and there is lip sync. So essentially, once you animate it, it will lip sync to whatever the voiceover is for that character, if there is voiceover for that character. So this is where selecting a voice is important for a character. If you think you're going to have that person speaking in your video versus like just narration, it's important that you pick the right video here. So, or the right voice here. So,
Every video deserves the right voice, whether it's an announcement, an ad campaign.
okay, Amelia's nice. Generally, the system will pick a voice for you that they feel best matches, and sometimes it might go by name. So if we had a voice for Jamie, it probably would have just picked Jamie. Um, I like the voice for Amelia, so I may keep that. Okay. All right, so let's create this character. Now I'm going to create another character, also from a prompt. Um, I'll do this one a little quicker since we've gone through this. This is Aaliyah. She's athletic, olive skin, slick back bun, um, wearing a charcoal top with and oversized cropped pale pink windbreaker. I'm also going to remove the sneakers, gold hoop earrings, delicate chain necklace. Right, so here there's a little bit more specifics around like what the jewelry actually is. Luxury athleisure, street style, confident pose. So also trying to kind of describe her vibe a little bit. Okay. Okay. Generating. Again, it's given her a voice. It picked, again, the one that's kind of close to her name.
Every video deserves the right voice.
That's fine. I know that for my video, I'm not probably not going to, I mean, I guess I'll showcase a little bit what lip syncing looks like in the video. Um, but here, so just to kind of quickly go through what's available here, there are descriptions of which each of these are, and like the type of accents that exist within our stock voices. So for instance, if I wanted to go with, maybe I'm looking for something a little bit upbeat.
Every video deserves the right voice, whether it
Okay.
Every video deserves the right voice, whether it's an announcement, an ad campaign, or a bedtime story. Give me the script and I'll bring it to life.
So I could go and select one of these other voices. Another option I have is, and you can see I already have a couple of custom voices here. So this is my voice.
Hello there, I'm ready for my role.
I could create a new voice. And the way I would do this here is I can record my voice or I can upload a file. So if you have a voice that you would like to use, assuming you have permission to use that voice, you can upload a file here to also use it. I'm going to change her to Laura. Maybe I will give her one or two lines. Okay. Okay, and there we go. Let me see if there's anything else. So also just to call this out, I can make changes here. So now it's generated this character. Um, if I don't exactly like her outfit, like I don't want it to be, maybe I want it to be like a lighter pink or a light pink. I can make that level of detail suggestions and try to make changes. Um, my suggestion generally, if you're creating a character, especially from a prompt, and the initial generation just didn't feel right, I would just start over. Like you don't really lose anything. And it's just better because a lot of things what it'll do is as you're creating the character and making changes, it still holds on to pieces of so this is light pink. I mean it is lighter. Um, it still holds on to pieces of the original prompt. So and like it's already created a reference image using that original prompt. So if it's like totally off, let's say I'm like, oh, this character isn't even right, and I'm gonna make a man. Like I'm gonna just delete this completely and start over. But even if I'm making pretty significant changes to her outfit, I might start over. All right. So here we go. Now we have our two characters. And now we're going to create a product. We already created the style. Okay, just go through this. We've created two characters. We've created a style. We have a couple of custom voices here. And now we're going to create a product. Okay, so product is one of our newer features. This, to think about like a product is really, we have character consistency, you have style consistency, and then the last piece of this is object consistency. Object consistency is usually most important for products, but there are a lot of other use cases in which someone might need object consistency, like you want the car to look exactly the same throughout every scene, or you want like if you have like a very specific item in your script, we've had questions about like religious items that should look exactly like that thing in every single scene. You could use product as a workaround for that as well, as it is really just like creating object consistency. However, products are optimized for products. So they're optimized for ads. Um, so they are also going to use a slightly better model for generating these videos, and they're going to be a little bit pricier than creating any other type of video. The assumption also being that these are generally shorter videos. They're a little bit more snappy hit, you know, um, like an ad. So I'm going to for products, we do not have create from prompt. The reason for that again is that if you are trying to sell a product, you likely want to use pictures of your exact product and not prompt some sort of random product. Um, so I will be using where is this? No, nope. Where is my product? Oh, here we go. All right, so I'm going to create the product of these sneakers. You can upload up to, again, 6 reference images here. I only have one reference image of this exact sneaker, and I would recommend against only uploading one image. That's just unfortunately the only thing I have at the moment. Um, my recommendation would be to upload various images of your sneaker or your product in different directions. So like get a top view, get a back view, get the soles, etc. Like whatever that product is, try to get it in different from different angles and maybe get it in a different setting so you get an understanding of like the size of the product, right? Like someone holding it could help like describe the size of that product. So we're gonna call these bounce retro sneakers. Um, I'm just gonna say retro sneakers. This part, obviously, if you have a product, you have a much better description than I do. But in the interest of time, we'll just create this product as is. Okay, so now we have these sneakers. We have our voices. So again, from the tips, create all of your assets in advance. Create your characters, create, or at least select your characters, right? Go through the list of characters and figure out which character it is that you want to use. I think there was a question about um, lip syncing. Lip syncing, whether it's our stock characters or a custom character, is not affected. Like that, it will be the same. So I don't have a recommendation there in terms of using a stock or custom character. Uh, with a stock character, you have a little bit, again, like if you use your stock items, you have a little bit less control over like what they're wearing or things of that sort. Whereas like in this situation, you have more control over what the character is wearing when you're creating a custom character. If you don't care about that, then you know, great. Then stock characters are there for you to use. Um, but either way, lip syncing will work. Okay, so now we have our characters, our product, our ads, our voices. So let's create this video. I already showcased a little bit of how you can create a video. I just clicked here video. You can always go back to create and start from this prompt box here if that's more comfortable. But they ultimately do the same thing. Another thing in terms of creation that might be helpful is you can always create from a character, from a style, from all of these assets. You can say use in video, and then it'll say a story about Aaliyah. Um, use in video, and add about, so you can create, there's a bunch of ways to get started. Um, so now we're going to create, I've already kind of showcased a little bit about what happens when you start with an idea. But my tip was that you should start with something a little bit more specific. So I'm going to copy and paste a script I worked on. Very simple, nothing crazy. I tried to split it up into scenes. So scene 1 is this with some narration, scene 2 with some narration. Um, I'm I'm trying to force it into giving me 4 scenes, meaning 4 images. One thing to note about here is that like I'm also describing some animation here, which obviously is not going to be what an image gives me. It's not going to show me her walking into. So what this will do is once I click animate, it will pay attention to what the script said to then animate in that way. So just something to keep in mind. But it's going to try to pull an image from the scene description. So sometimes what I do is I actually make the scenes still images. Like I try to describe a still image instead of describing an animation, so I can get closer to what my the beginning of the scene will look like. But just quickly, I quickly came up with this, so this is not like a perfect script. And I have no idea what it's going to sound like. So let's get started. For custom style, I'm going to use daylight ads. The length, because I'm adding in the script, like it's going to ignore length here, because this isn't just a prompt. This is a full script. So the length really doesn't matter. Where length matters is if you're adding a prompt. The other thing to keep in mind with length, though, is that if you're adding a prompt and you're not giving it much, it's not going to create a 10-minute video from a simple prompt. So even if like you give it long form and you just say a dog running, it's not going to be able to give you a 10-minute video with dog running. So a lot of times if you're trying to create a long form video, the key is to enter a script that's 10 minutes, right? So think about what a 10-minute script would be like if you're describing, scenes within 3 to 5 seconds. That's going to be the best way to get you a long form video. One thing to call out is that there is a character limit here. So it might still stop you somewhere before the 10 minutes, but there are ways to then continue adding more scenes if you're looking for a 10-minute video. But again, here, because I really added scene one, scene two, scene three, scene four. If I add 10 minutes, it's not going to give me a 10-minute video because I've clearly given it a like 15-second video. Um, Aspect ratio. So we can do this in tall port, like for a reel, landscape for like a YouTube video, and then like one-to-one for like like a post on Instagram or something, or just a square. So you have a couple of different options in terms of the aspect ratio. I'm gonna stick with a reel. Okay, so now it's taking the script I gave it and it's going to make what's called like a pretty script. So I'll try to clean it up. It's mostly kept it the same. But in some situations, if there's anything like a little bit confusing, for instance, like you're adding FX or um, things that maybe Hypernatural isn't doing right now, like for instance, we don't do we don't do effects, like sound effects. So if you describe a ton of sound effects, that's not going to work. Um, so just something to keep in mind is it like tries to clean up your script to get it to fit what works in Hypernatural. Again, this looks pretty much exactly like what I entered. Okay, so I named Jamie because I put the name Jamie in the script. It will cast Jamie. If I enter some random name, it might not cast the person that I want, so I will have to go here and select the person that I want. So for instance, if I had called her Amy or something, it might have casted, or if I had called her like Layla, because Layla is one of our stock characters, it's going to cast Layla. So something to keep in mind is that like the name of your character can be different than the name of the role that the character is playing. I just made it simple for myself, so I named her Jamie in the script. I named her Aaliyah in the script so that Aaliyah and Jamie were both casted. Um, it selected a narrator just to kind of showcase the custom voice. I'll use my voice as the narration. It selected the daylight ads because I had already selected those. It kept this, and then as you can see, it's added the bounce retro sneakers. There's no way to change the product, so if it does cast the wrong product, yeah, I called out that it was bounce retro sneakers, so that's the way that you actually use the product in the video. Let's say I had about 5 sneakers listed as like products. If I just put the word sneaker, it might cast all of those sneakers. It might cast one of those sneakers. So specificity here matters a lot. When you're writing the script, make sure you actually use the name of the product. We are working on ways to make this part a little bit easier, like making it easier to kind of just like select the exact one you want. But just something to keep in mind as you're potentially building products or even like consistent objects that you'd like to use. Again, this is a script I use, so there isn't really much changes I want to make here, but kind of just to showcase what's possible. What I could do here is if I wanted, maybe I didn't want Aaliyah here as a character. I would say remove Aaliyah as a character. And you can see it's updated the script so that Aaliyah doesn't show up in the script anymore, and it's uncasted Aaliyah here. So sometimes if you're not really specific about what characters are in your script and you're using an idea, it might give a couple of extra characters that maybe you didn't want in your script because it's, going off of a prompt. Um, so there are ways to then like remove those characters if you don't want those characters. Okay, I'm gonna go just quickly so I can start from this again. And then I can also make changes here. Some sneakers are try too hard, exclamation point or something. I can make the changes directly in here if I wanted to before I click make video. Okay, and then my voice, okay. Again, here you would make sure that you're selecting the right characters. So make sure you double check this section here. Same for the styles, the narrator, etc. You can also preview the voices here.
Every video deserves the right voice. Every video deserves the right.
Okay, and then one thing is I got asked about, oh no, actually, hang on. I want to give, what I can't do is change who's speaking. So I'm gonna make, I'm gonna give Jamie a line here. Let's see how this turns out, just to see if we can get her to do some lip syncing. This is originally a narration only, right? There was only narrator talking, but I gave Jamie, I'll do something. I love my bounce retro sneakers. Today or something. It's not the most, yeah, just to kind of showcase this. Okay, we're gonna make this video. Oh, and I might have forgotten to change the voice, which is great. I'll show you how you can change that afterwards. Um, great. So here you'll see it's taking the script, it's generating the scenes based on that script. It's pulling in who Jamie is, pulling in who Aaliyah is, so that they're in the video. And this usually goes by pretty quickly. It's going to create 4 images. It's going to create the narration and the voiceover for the character that's speaking. We'll start to get a bit of some of the scenes here. So yeah, like Jamie walks confidently. Right, so again, these are just still images. It's just creating these still images. Let's see where Aaliyah comes up. Okay, final script. Sorry, final scene. All right. Just quickly, yes, you can make a character of yourself by uploading images. So you can create a character and upload images of yourself to create that character looking like yourself. And if you wanted the same character outdoors, indoors, that's right. Like you could change the setting throughout the scene descriptions. And as long as you've casted your character, that is the character that will show up. And as long as you're describing that character in each of those settings, then that is the character that will show up. Okay, so we didn't have Aaliyah here. Okay, we'll quickly just watch it through. Generally, they get generated first. My suggestion is to watch it through first to kind of figure out like what it is that I want to change. The way you should think about this first few scenes is, and these images that get created is this is a storyboard. Storyboard for your video. Just quick clips, iterate, figure out what needs to be changed, and then when you're ready, you can animate things. So let's watch it quickly.
Some sneakers try too hard, others just show up and somehow make everything look cooler. Meet the Bounce Retro sneakers.
I love my Bounce Retro sneakers.
buy them today.
Okay. So I want to add Aaliyah into one of these shots. I believe I had her in this one, but let me see. Okay. So I guess because I changed this last scene and made her speak. Um, okay, so maybe let's change this one here. So you can see Jamie walks on, right? This was one of the scenes that I created. Jamie walks confidently past a busy cafe patio, sunlight reflecting off her bounce sneakers. Um, and Aaliyah is waiting for her, waiting and waving up at the corner. Let's see. All right. Something to call out here. This is like, I guess, the subject prompt. You then also have the setting prompt. So one way to keep setting consistent as you're doing some of these reanimations or regenerations is check the setting prompt, make sure that the setting prompt looks the same. This is also a good way to change the setting completely. You can delete this setting and describe something totally different, like a volcano eruption in the background. And that'll help, if you're looking for a whole new setting or an indoor setting. Um, or maybe it's like walks confidently into a busy cafe, waving for her. Okay. Leah's waiting inside and waving. Waiting inside, sitting at a two. All right. So now we want to change the setting. A bright cafe, sunlight coming through large windows in a okay. Again, I'm trying to go kind of fast, but if I wanted to regenerate this and be really thoughtful, I would give that a lot more thought in terms of what I would want that cafe to look like, wooden tables, where the barista is, etc. So kind of just being more specific about what that could look like. The other thing to call out is I didn't use my voice. So let's say I wanted to change the voice here and I didn't like the narrator, or maybe I didn't like her voice. We would go here to script. Here you can edit the script. So I love my bounce retro sneakers. Buy them today. Maybe I don't want buy them today. I just want I love my bounce retro sneakers. And we're going to save that and then only regenerate the audio. The images don't need to change here. All I did was change the audio, so I would just regenerate the audio here. Um, but one situation where I might regenerate everything would be if I changed the character completely. So like if I changed what Jamie looked like, or if I picked a completely new character, that would be a reason to regenerate images and audio. Okay. All right. So here, Aaliyah's there. We've added her in. She walked in. This one's also a weird shot because she's holding the sneakers instead of wearing them.
Retro sneakers. Some sneakers try too hard.
Okay, a couple of tips for this one because she's showing she's showing the retro sneakers, so she's holding them. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. Um, so a couple of things we could do here is completely regenerate this image. If I have a previously generated image that I like, I could go here and try to, so essentially just I selected the scene. I can go and find stock images but this is a custom character, so I'm not going to find stock images with this custom character. Um, I can go to previously generated or I can upload an image. For this specific scenario, going to prior generated or generating a new thing makes the most sense just because I created this character for this specific video. And it's not like based on anything else. But an uploaded use case can be really good if, let's say, this is your ad for something that you have and you want to use like a very exact image and maybe you just want to animate the image. So, for instance, you have a ring and you have the image of the ring and you just want to like do like a 360 shot of that ring. That's where you might upload an image of that ring and then just animate it so that it does a 360 shot instead of trying to generate something new there. Um, for this one, okay, actually what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna replace this first one and I'm gonna use this edit swap. So I replaced this one using a previously generated, oh wait, this is this one. Never mind. Okay, I'm gonna use this one back. Here it goes. So you can see this is not the right sneaker here. So what I would do here is sneakers are bounce retro sneakers. I don't want to change the image. I don't want to regenerate everything. I want this shot. I like this shot. And all I wanted to do is change the sneakers. And that will do this. Okay, we have about 12 minutes left. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna animate this, and while we're animating this, I'm not gonna make any more changes. Just, interest of time, I want to make sure we can see the lip sync. And again, like the deep dive session, we'll spend more time in the editor and kind of editing, iterating, and generating. But I'm gonna go through questions for the last 10 minutes. All right, so let me scroll up here. So, why Hypernatural doesn't use my scripts and my pictures and videos when I add them in with the script? I'm gonna just quickly, I'll answer that question. I'm gonna just show, right? So it changed, all it did was change the sneakers. I just used the edit function here to change the sneakers. This essentially uses like Nano Banana Edit. All it does is make a change to that specific request, and it doesn't change or regenerate the whole thing. I'm going to full motion this so I can just okay, full motion, I'm also giving up, right, some control here by allowing the model to do what it does and just add motion as it makes sense as it pertains to the script I originally added. So it already has like a bunch of animation prompts that it'll lean into. If I wanted to be really specific about how this animates, I would click on the scene and then animate with AI. Right, so here it kind of gives me an animation, like it's suggesting an animation. I can change this and be more specific about how I want this to animate. Interest of time, I'm just going to add motion here and go through some questions while we animate. Okay, so why doesn't it use pictures and videos when I add them with the script? So when you upload images here, so you can upload images here, you can upload photos, you can upload videos, and then you can also see like you can also start from narrated video or narrated audio. The use cases here is a little different. So if you're using a photo in your video, this means it will literally use that exact photo. It'll find a place for that photo to show up in your video. Same with the video. If you upload a clip, it'll show, it's not going to, in the same way that you're creating a character where you're uploading references and then it kind of uses those references to like generate new content. That's not what it's doing when you're uploading photos and videos. This is essentially just using that exact photo, that exact video to like in the generated video. So just something to keep in mind when you're using these sections. Same with the library clips. So think about them all as the same. Like the library clip means you're using that exact library clip in your video. Narrated audio and narrated video means you are uploading narrated audio and it will use that narrated audio to then create. So it'll create the script using that narrate. It basically just transcribes the audio and then creates the video using that transcription. Same thing with narrated video. For this one, it will create B-roll. So it'll take scenes from your video, and then it will add some shots, some generated clips to accompany that video. Voiceover is best if you are doing a fully narrated video You're not planning to add scene descriptions. You just want that exact script to be used. It does, and it's like, so essentially, if you use voiceover and you add scene descriptions in the voiceover option, it's going to it's going to say the scene description. So you don't want to do that. Voiceover is you are going to use that exact script. You're going to transcribe it, have an AI agent say it, and then it'll give you scenes for that script. Um, so it doesn't work in the same way where it's like you are uploading images. Sorry, to go back to that question, it's not going to use those images and then generate new images based on those images. It is still mostly going into the script. It's still mostly based on the script and based on the scene descriptions. So I already went through how to add a voice. Right? So you can do that in a character, or you can also add a voice here. You go to My Voices, you can add a new voice here, and it's the same thing. Record a voice or upload a file. Yes, I will send the recording on this. Also, all of our recordings are available on our YouTube channel. So any prior webinars that you may have missed, or you just wanted to watch a bunch of webinars, you can go to some of our old webinars on YouTube. Okay. Yes, you can make yourself a character. I think I've already gone through that one. In terms of script templates, yes, my suggestion would be scene, describe visuals, narration, and then the audio or like the name of the person talking and then the audio. So yes, that's right. Um, yes, undo. We know we get this question a lot. That's super helpful. The one thing I will say is like if you are looking for usually the undo is like people want to go back to a previously generated image. And the best way to do that is to click on the scene, and then here you get the full depository of all of the things that have been generated in your account. So this isn't even just for this video. And the reason this is helpful is that like if you have a channel or a product that you're making a lot of videos for, you can use images from prior videos where you're like, oh, I didn't need it for that video, but maybe it'll be good for this one. All right. Again, this is a beginner webinar. So if there are things that you'd like to dig into, our deep dive is probably more helpful for that. And yes, the way you think about this is that it's giving you a storyboard of images first, clean up those images, and then it goes, we use image to video models to then animate those images. All right. All right. We do have a mobile app. Almost 90% of the things you can do on desktop, you can do on mobile. There are like some very niche things that I think are hard to do on mobile. Um, but almost everything can be done on mobile. All right. Okay. Let's quickly watch this video and then we'll get back to some more questions. We still have 5 minutes left.
Some sneakers try too hard, others just show up and somehow make everything look cooler. Meet the Bounce Retro sneakers.
I love my Bounce Retro sneakers.
All right. So that was pretty simple, right? We got her talking. It's just,
The Bounce Retro sneakers.
I love my Bounce Retro sneakers.
again, very weird that she took her shoes off in the middle of the street. However, she's showing them, so I guess that's great. Um, let's do. In terms of getting like direct support, the best way to do that is to email our support channel. Um, we are a really small team, so we will do our best to get back to folks that reach out via our email. So it's help@hypernatural.ai. And then you can use our chatbot for really quick things. So we do have a help center, and that has a ton of information. We're always trying to keep that updated. So check out the help center, see if that's helpful. And if it isn't, please do email us and let us know. We also try to track the AI bot a little bit just to make sure that it's giving the right answers. So we'll make tweaks and stuff. So if the AI bot ever gives you the wrong answers, you can let the AI bot know and we'll make changes to make sure that we're getting the right answers there. In terms of having AI not type out anything during the scripting process, I'm assuming you mean in the visuals. So there are a couple of different things. We have the narration and whether or not the narration is spelling and or yeah, okay. So in the visuals, um, the narration piece of things, sometimes it does pronounce things wrong. So what we suggest is making changes to the pronunciation in the script and then changing the spelling here. So you can change the spelling instead of, so that's just like one quick tip. Um, but in terms of visuals, the best way I would change those, I mean, so now I can't edit because these are all animated. But let's say if I go back to an image, this is a bad example. If something was written here, I would edit that out. Or I would say spell it like X. So that is something that like you can do if the visuals have something incorrect in there. That really depends though on like the scene description. So sometimes what I've noticed is people will add scene descriptions that say like, certain words in them. If you remove those types of scene descriptions where it's like, a sign in the background that says X, that should help not spell things. Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, I see. Yeah, I think using the edit function would work best there. So trying to say like, no, it's spelled Tuesday lunchtime and spelling that correctly. And then 2 minutes. So in terms of editing the captions, I agree. Some people don't like captions. Some people love captions. However, when you're uploading to like a YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever, it auto captions. So the captions, you don't need them twice. So to remove the captions, you have a couple of options. You can remove them for the entire video here in the design tab, captions, and then remove captions here. Um, or
Some
you
makers try
can
too hard, others just show up.
or you can click on a scene here and then just remove it for that specific scene. So again, design up here, captions, hide captions for scene. So a couple of ways to do that. All right, and then I think let's see. All right. Um, I hope some of this helped with the character consistency. But if it didn't, please do send some of your examples over to help@Hypernatural and we'll take a look to see if we can help with some of the character consistency there. Okay. One last thing, export. We have a minute left. You can export directly to YouTube. You can export directly to TikTok. If you make those connections, you get 50 extra credits, so that's fun. Um, what you do here is you can either make this public, you can make it unlisted or private. We actually do have uh, like our Explorer page will have all these videos on them. So if you don't want to show up on our Explorer page, just make it private. And then resolution, and then once you're ready to export this, you click share and it'll start the export. And then you can do your export here, and this will always give you your latest version. Um, and you can start a new export here. So one thing to know is if you make changes to your video, once it will show share here again, basically telling you that you need to re-export because you made changes. Okay, it will also send you an email. So as you can see, export has started. You're going to get an email, or you can just download it here. And yeah, and then you can share it wherever you want. Great. So that's all the time we have for today. Um, and oh goodness. That's all the time we have for today. If folks have more questions, please do come to our deep dive session. I will skip a bunch of the beginning stuff and then go straight into the editor to start kind of clicking through and making iterations and getting us the end result that we're looking for. So, all right. Thank you all for coming today. Have a good one.